Hi, I'm Gina, creator and host of Feminine Roadmap Podcast, the podcast that is designed to have real talk around all things midlife and strategies to help us live a more vibrant second half. It is my deepest desire to help other people shift the conversation toward empowerment, toward vibrancy, toward excitement about what life has for us and what we can bring to the world, how we can each individually shine our light. So I invite you to grab a cup of something wonderful, to join me each week or when you can, and join me in my living room to have these conversations. And if you are enjoying this, please take the time to subscribe wherever you listen, rate my podcast, and share the episodes that help you, the episodes that encourage you. Let's build this community together. Welcome to my tribe. I'm so grateful you're here. Hello, Feminine Roadmappers. Welcome back to Feminine Roadmap Podcast, the podcast that helps you navigate the challenges and changes of midlife and live a more vibrant second half. Today, my guest is going to be talking to us about how we as women can be more powerful, F-U-L-L, and how we can stand in our power and empower ourselves and each other through partnership and ourselves through self-love. My guest today is Jenna Banks. She's a social entrepreneur, the author of I Love Me More, How to Find Happiness and Success Through Self-Love, and she is the host of the Jenna Banks Show. Jenna, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me, Gina.
It's a joy to have you. We were so into our conversation that I realized we should probably hit record. So we are fired up and ready to deliver this encouraging, empowering message to my tribe. So Jenna, why don't you jump in and let us know what led you to this mission and message of empowering women to be more powerful?
Good question. Thank you for asking. By the way, I'm going to go on a little side note before I get into that, because I love your intro. I love what your show is all about, that the other side of midlife, the second half. I'm there. I'm 48. I'll be 49 this year. And I was just at the doctor this morning and I'm like, I was in for just a refill on medication, which now, certain medications, they require you now to go in every refill, like every 3 months because of federal law. Anyway, so I'm like, dreading going in. I'm like, what a waste of my time. But then I'm like, while I'm here, let me ask about a couple of things. And one of which just started happening a few months ago. After I started noticing a pattern after I drink a couple of drinks of alcohol. It doesn't matter what it usually is, wine or whatever, a cocktail. And then the next day, and it might last for 2 days, I get this weird feeling of anxiety, like a ringing in my ears and a buzzing in my body. And it doesn't feel good. It feels like stress or anxiety. And I'm like, what is this? And I started to realize it was a pattern after I drink alcohol. So I started cutting way back on that. And I asked my doctor about that today. And she goes, yeah, that could happen, an intolerance to alcohol as you're going through perimenopause. I'm like,
because we need more symptoms. Yay.
Right. Like, okay, I really do enjoy alcohol every once in a while. And now you're going to take that away from me. What?
Just during perimenopause, you can come back to it. It's fine.
Right. By then I'll be over it. So but anyways, I digress. You had asked me about what led me down this path. And, it's a really good question because, my book is really a guide to finding your power, your happiness, your success through self-love. And I wrote the book because it was a journey to get there. A lot of what I hear right now about self-love is actually what I call self-care. Self-care is like this external stuff you can do to feel better, right? It's like going to the spa, or you're stressed out, get a massage. That's self-care, right? You're making yourself feel better. You eat healthy, that's self-care. You exercise, that's self-care. That's all these external things. But self-love is actually the internal stuff. And a lot of times it's hard work. It's breaking old patterns of people pleasing, letting people cross your boundaries, over giving, the things that sabotage our self-love that we're not aware of. And oftentimes it's uncomfortable and even sometimes painful. Okay. And then when I say painful, I mean like breaking up with someone you are in love with. I talk about that in the book, about my breakup with this guy named Dave. I was really, really in love with him, but I had to break my own heart to choose myself. And that's why the title of the book is I Love Me More. Can't just love, it's not enough to love yourself. You have to love yourself more than your partner, more than your boss, more than your kids even. And that may sound controversial to say, but I'm a mom of a almost 28-year-old son. I've been there. I know what it's like to be able to have to choose yourself or make that choice. Like, am I going to keep self-sacrificing here? Or I'm going to say, no, this is my life. My happiness is my priority. It's number one, and that even means when you're a mom too. And your kids need to see that. They need to see what self-love actually is. And it's really the opposite of how we've been taught, how we've been raised. And someone listening right now might be thinking, sounds very selfish and narcissistic and conceited. And that is the dialogue that has run around in our minds as women for thousands of years. That's the conditioning and the programming that's been passed along to us generation by generation. Our parents showed us that, our grandparents, our grandmothers, our mothers. And so all we're doing is acting out these old behaviors and patterns. And if we don't, guess what happens? We feel guilty, right? Then the guilt kicks in. I'm doing something wrong. But you know what I found about guilt through my research is that guilt doesn't necessarily mean you're doing something wrong. Mm-hmm. It actually most likely means that you're breaking a programmed behavior.
Fascinating. Say that again, Jenna, because I think that's one of those you need to hear it. So everyone stop what you're doing. Listen to this mic drop moment. Say that for us one more time.
Guilt isn't necessarily an indication that you're doing something wrong. In fact, most of the time, guilt is an indication that you're breaking a programmed behavior. And what does guilt do? It puts us right back in our lane. It says, oh, don't veer off that path. Go back to what you know, because that's the comfortable lane that you've carved out for yourself for thousands of years, women. Get back in your lane. Keep self-sacrificing. Keep people pleasing. You're here to make everyone else feel good. Don't worry about how you feel. You don't matter. You should be lowest on your list of priorities.
And it's uncomfortable, isn't it, for women when we're in that place? It does feel wrong. It does feel uncomfortable to allow ourselves to be, quote, first, right?
Yeah.
It feels counterintuitive to what we're used to. That's what you're talking about. The pain is, this is the comfort zone we're talking about.
That's the comfort zone. Yes, that's exactly right. And so it's easy to stick in that comfortable, carved out path that we've had for thousands of years because there's no one showing us anything else. So it feels weird, awkward, like people are going to judge me, right?
And we may judge ourselves, right? Because we're getting our value, if you will, from this thing that we're doing or being defined by. So the judgment, I think, for ourselves can get very heavy before anybody else has a chance.
Gina, that is a beautiful point you make. Yes, actually, the worst judgment we feel is from ourselves. When you stop judging yourself, you'll realize that nobody's really judging you. Now, maybe if you're living in the Bible Belt area, you might get some judgment, in a small town where everyone knows everyone's business. Yeah, you might get some judgment, but you got to stop worrying about that because ultimately when you accept yourself, others will accept you too. And that's why self-love is so important because it all starts with self. If you can forgive yourself, you can forgive others. If you cannot judge yourself, you won't be as judgmental towards others. If you can love yourself, you'll attract the people that love you back too. Like you'll allow those in your life that can love you as much as you can love you. Think about it like this. Like if you don't love yourself, you're going to see that reflected out in the external world. You're going to get people who don't like you. I was just talking to someone the other day whose daughter was having a hard time in school. And she's like, nobody likes me. Nobody likes me. And the mom had enough foresight to say, well, baby, but you don't like yourself. like you have to learn to love yourself. And then once you can love yourself, you'll attract those people that love you too. But you're not going to attract that unless you can really love and accept yourself. And that's really the key, is we owe it to ourselves. We deserve this. We deserve our love, because we're just going to attract more of that into our lives. I go into this story in my book about this epiphany I had, which, by the way, the book is based on, my own journey, but I also pepper it with a lot of scientific research, data, other experts, just to show that, look, I'm not a PhD. Okay. I'm not a spiritual guru. I'm just an expert in myself and on the journey I had to take to get to where I was self-loathing, teenager, with no sense of self-worth or self-value whatsoever, to the point I wanted to die. Like, I had multiple suicide attempts. I was in the hospital in a coma for many days because I did almost succeed in that death wish. But I pivoted from this place of self-loathing to a place of where I am today, a successful, vibrant, happy, loving person who's what I call powerful, Full, full of power, which is love. And that is a saying of mine: your love is your power. And I want to say that again: your love is your power. This is not woo-woo or anything. It's like, if you think about it, love, we give our love to everything else outside of ourselves, usually, but ourselves, right? We're giving our love to our job, getting all into that job, and they're getting our energy, our attention. And that job they're benefiting from your attention. That's why they're paying you to be there. Like, your kids get your love, your partner gets your love, your God or your church gets your love, your friends get your love. But when do you get your love? When you start to give it to yourself, you actually feel the energy, you feel it in your body. I have this analogy I like to call the power container. It's this imaginary vessel that rests in your soul. Imagine it's like it starts at the bottom of your stomach and goes up to the top of your chest area. So imagine this vessel that contains your power, your energy, and you can fill it up to be the point. And that's why I like to say powerful, Full. It's your own power, the power that you usually give away to everyone else. When you give it back to yourself, you fill up this imaginary power container. And then your powerful, you can feel it. It's an energy. You just feel vibrant. You feel radiant. You've been there. I'll give you an example of what that looks like. We've all been there. You can walk into a grocery store, not know anyone, and random strangers are looking at you and they're like, hi, they make an excuse to start talking to you. You start becoming magnetic, right? And you're like, what's going on with me today? You're in the car and you're like listening, you're blasting your favorite music. You're like, I want to turn that all the way up. And then you're like dancing in your car. You know what that feels like when you have those days. That's you just feeling vibrant and radiant. And that happens when maybe you unconsciously were giving yourself, investing in yourself that day. Maybe you did a course you'd always wanted to do. Maybe you had a really good photo session. You wanted to get some new professional headshots and you're giving your attention to yourself. That powers us up. That self-care stuff really powers us up. But what drains us is really, really important. And that's what I go into in the book as well, and the things that drain us include, being that person who always, you pride yourself on saying yes to everyone. Oh, I'm the helpful person. I'm always helping. And even when my schedule is packed, I'm going to give. And then you come home and you're drained, you're spent, you're annoyed. Your kids are like asking you for, and now you have nothing left to give. Right. And then the kids are like, Mom, this, like, stop it. There, you get annoyed, you get cranky, whatever. You've got nothing left because you haven't taken the time to just sit with yourself and recharge, regenerate. That's why it's important that you go, okay, look, this is draining me. Like, if I take this task on, it's going to literally deplete me. I'm going to have to say no. And that's why it's important to use the word no as a complete sentence. For example, when you know that you don't have it, right? I need to be filling myself up today. Like, I'm going to have to say no. Like, no, I can't help you with your resume today. Can you do it tomorrow or Saturday when I've got actual time available? But I got to take care of me today. I got to carve out that space for me. It's okay to choose yourself. In fact, it's necessary Because when you are on a place of powerful, you actually have more to give when you do have the time, when you have the availability, when you have the energy. When you do give, it's from this much more energized place, and you could be so much more helpful. But you got to give to yourself first, and then you give to everybody else. Right.
It's you can't pour from an empty cup. And I think there's an awareness piece in there, Jenna, as I'm listening to you, is we have to become aware of when we're reaching that point.
Yes.
Because if we're used to doing that, we're used to pushing through that emptiness, if you will, or that low energy state, or that low, because back to that judgment. Well, I'm not being a good wife. I'm not being a good mother. I'm not being a good this. I'm not being a good that. And it really isn't a selfish thing. It really is. Let's just take it from a biological standpoint. If we're running on empty, the cortisol is high, which is doubling down on the drain, right? It's putting us in a state of reverse. We're just driving really fast in reverse. So it's like, it really is biologically important.
Yes.
If women need some kind of permission, it's a biological necessity to slow down, to breathe, to rest, to set boundaries, to eat well, and to save space for nothing. Yeah.
You know what? There's this thing I call the nice girl syndrome. It's another drain. And it's a syndrome. It really is, because most of the time it's not benefiting us. So for example, let's say, actually there's also nice guy syndrome. My boyfriend does suffer from some nice guy syndrome. God bless his heart. He's such a sweetheart. But we love sitting at the bar for dinner. We just like to eat our dinner at the bar. There's more energy happening. It's just it's more fun and interesting. And we sat next to someone at the bar not too long ago, and this guy, and he'd obviously drank a lot of alcohol, and he starts pinning. It's okay to have a chat with the person next to you. You're sitting at the bar, so you open yourself up for that. But we hadn't seen each other in 5 days. And so we were excited to spend time together. We love each other very much, and we wanted to catch up, and we're looking forward to this. And this guy starts talking to him. And next thing you know, the conversation is going on, and my boyfriend's dealing with the nice guy syndrome. He's letting it happen. And meanwhile, I'm going, I'm here to spend time with my boyfriend. This guy's talking nonsense. And now he's going to talk about strippers and cocaine. Not what I want to be hearing about right now. And my boyfriend, God love him, he's he's being the nice guy. He's letting this guy go on, and he doesn't know how to break free. So I had to step up, because I've been mastering my boundaries for a while. And I'm proud of myself for this. I really pat myself up on the back for this, which is another thing I talk about, powering yourself up. Instead of listening to your inner critic, you got to find those things where you're winning, even the small wins, and be patting yourself on the back constantly, because then you start to build yourself up, and you're becoming more powerful by your own feedback system, your own validation, which is way more important than other people validating you, by the way. So I say to this guy, with all due respect, sir, we came to spend time together. I haven't seen him in 5 days. We'd love to catch up. And that's why we came here tonight. So we're going to go ahead and get to our evening and our dinner together. That's literally how I said it. And he's like, oh, well, of course you guys go. And he just started going on again. And I was like, and then the bartender says, "Sir, you got to go. You've been overserved and we're done." And my boyfriend looks at me, and, he kind of tears up a little bit. He's like, that was awesome. Wow. Thank you for that. That was very, I really feel special that you stood up for us like that. And that means a lot to me. And he's like, yeah, I still have a lot to learn in that area. But it was really, I was proud of myself for getting to the point where I could do that. That's a boundary. That's a clear boundary. And the way we feel, and for anyone listening right now, it's well, how do you get there? How you get there is through this power container concept. It's such a powerful framework, because that tells you everything you need to know. Tune in. You got to tune into this area, this solar plexus area of your body. And what is it telling you? Because that's where your intuition is. You can feel it, when you feel depleted, it starts to drain. You can feel it draining. Your energy starts to go down, and it feels icky. I guess that's a word you could put on it. I feel icky when someone's crossing a boundary. I feel kind of uncomfortable. That's how you can kind of know, I'm feeling a little uncomfortable right now. What is that? And then you tune in. And then you start to kind of figure it out. Oh, this person's making me feel uncomfortable. And that's where the nice girl syndrome, we have to, again, choose self-love and go through the discomfort of, sticking with these program behaviors and lanes. Got to be the nice girl. I don't want to hurt their feelings, which again, women do, not men. Most men don't do this. This is another study, another bit of research I found, that women will feel guilty when we worry that we're hurting someone else's feelings. Mm-hmm. Men tend to feel guilty when they feel like they've hurt themselves, like drank too much or ate too much.
What's interesting about that dynamic is most of the time we as humans are focusing on ourselves. So when we think that we're worried that we're hurting someone, that they're thinking about all the ways we didn't do this for them and didn't do that for them, it might cross their mind, but unless they're like a full-blown narcissist, most people have moved on. Like,
yes,
we're the one that are stuck in the loop. Unless you have a very unhealthy connection with someone and they want to keep you in that place by reminding you of how you failed. Mm-hmm. I have a relationship like that. And this is one of those things where the awareness, the growth that you're talking about, Jenna, when you begin to grow, you can begin to separate yourself from the relationships and the people that have had power over you. We have given them the power, but we have to take that power back. And if it's someone in our family, sometimes that we've grown up under that dynamic and we have to learn to separate ourselves. We are not one and the same with the people we're in relationship with. In a healthy relationship, we're two people coming to it, bringing our best and working through our difficulties. But when we're merged with someone, I think the guilt feels heavier because we are so used to being under that person's expectations or their power or their whatever. And so I think that awareness piece is maybe asking the right questions of ourselves. Why do I feel this way? And when does this feeling come up? Like, yes, waking ourselves up to the ickiness and what's it like. You're like the alcohol. You started to make the connection. We have to make the connection. Mm-hmm. And then, but that merging with people, sometimes we are as women too interconnected with someone where they have that ability. We give them that power.
We give it to them and they're used to it. This man was used to manipulating everyone. The energy. That's right. Yeah. Well, that's what it was. A manipulation of my attention, his attention. And he had the power. When you take your power, he didn't care. Yeah.
You're going to worry about hurting that guy's feelings when he didn't care about you.
Not only that, but you're not benefiting at all from this conversation. Why are we wasting our time to be the nice girl or the nice guy?
And what do we gain? Think about that too. I think one of the questions that came up when you said that is, what am I gaining from this? Yeah. Because I think there is in our mind some kind of reward system. If I'm the nice girl, then blank.
Yes, exactly. Then I'm going to heaven. Then I get Jesus points or whatever that is that we've made up in our minds.
People will like me, or then I'm being good.
Good. Yeah.
Whatever. What is the perceived reward? Because that might be where you realize, wait a minute, am I really getting that reward?
Well, I don't know if it could be a perceived reward, or it just could be what I like to think of as, I'm in that program behavior. I did this, so I'm good. I've done this, so I am the good girl.
Like checking the boxes of what you think equals something.
That's right. So I did that. I'm doing this pattern, and it gets this unconscious social programming that I'm talking about here that we have to look at. I want to shine a massive spotlight on these things that we're not conscious of, because here's the deal. The reason why I created my brand, Powerful Women, FULL, Powerful Women, is I want to shed a spotlight on these unconscious social norms that are holding us back. Here's the data. The World Economic Forum put out a report recently that and based on current trends, current timelines, it's going to take us 170 years to achieve gender equality in this country. Or actually, it's worldwide. I'm sorry. 170 years to achieve gender equality. Really? it's like crazy if you think about it, because we had more than 50% of college graduates now today are women, right? We already know that women are fully capable of running countries and companies. Yet right now we only have like 8.1% of women are CEOs of Fortune 500s. Over 50% now, over 50% of businesses worldwide, entrepreneurs, I'm saying, are women. So entrepreneurs, 50% or more are women. Yet only 2.3% of them get venture capital funding. That's it. So why? Why is this? Like, we're still way, way, way behind. I know that through my research and what I've surmised is the next step is for us women, we have to do the internal work. And actually this is also based on research and data too. I based it on, oh my God, this data said this is this. Oh, no wonder. Okay. So one piece of data that I researched found that I was like, what is this aversion I found when posting about power on social media? I find that women don't respond well to the word power. I was like, what is this? So I started to do some homework. Come to find out, we women tend to associate the word power with men. We see it as a masculine trait, as in having power over other people. And so when you ask a powerful woman who's high ranking or whatever, a ton of money, whatever the thing is, if she feels powerful, you know what she'd say? A lot of the times that powerful women will say, well, no, I'm not powerful. Because they don't want to, I'm not a man, right? But they see it as a negative thing. Oh, no, I'm not powerful. I'm just a person like everybody else. We think that that's actually a virtue to say that. And because we associate it with the masculine trait. How are we going to ever be in positions? How are we going to achieve power equality if we can't even claim the word power? Right. So, but what powerful is for a woman is very different than what it is for a man. What power is for a woman is living life to our fullest potential. Power is giving back to the greater good. It's helping our communities, our families, helping give back to the world, like I'm trying to do right now. Like I'm taking on because I feel powerful, I have the energy to give back in this greater way that makes me feel powerful. And it's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. We should be saying, I am powerful. If we really, wanting to aspire to be powerful, we should want to own the word power. And so just kind of reframing that for women, I think it's a big deal. And if we can get there, maybe we can change that 170-year statistic and, bring that down a lot lower. That's my goal anyway.
And we talked about this before we hit record, my work experience and women who, like, we tend to talk about men abusing power, but I've been under the situation where women have abused power. So it's really a human condition to misuse power. We do have, in some ways, a male-dominated world, but if we're going to micro focus on the word power, like you said, we see it as a negative thing. Why do we see it as a negative thing? Again, becoming aware that it's not the word power itself, it's what we're connecting it to.
Yes, exactly.
It's power is not bad. It's what we're attaching it to that's actually the problem.
Yeah. It's this, again, having power over other people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're seeing it in a combative sense, for lack of a better term. That's what's coming to my mind, like me versus you. So power is us being opposing forces, and I have to be in the position of power. I think we see power that way, but that's not what you're saying.
Yep.
You're talking about an internal sense of, I am strong, I am capable, I have the power to make these decisions that are for my good and the good of the people who love me. So it's not power in terms of over someone. If you had to be over something, it would be over yourself.
Yes, exactly. Power over yourself. That's the key. And that's why this power container concept is so powerful, because it's containing your own power, the power that we as women have been conditioned and programmed to give away to everyone else without valuing it ourselves. We wrap our sense of self-worth and self-value in how much we give it away instead of giving it to ourselves. It's just a conditioning thing. It sounds selfish, right? You hear, even me saying it now, it's like going against an old conditioned program. It's like, but that sounds narcissistic. It's not. And it's that fear that keeps us from our power.
And that should be a trigger, right? If I'm feeling the fear, then it's like, well, what am I afraid of?
Oh, Marianne Williamson, I'm going to probably butcher this, but I love her work. And she has a quote. She says, one of the quotes in her book, I think it was Return to Love. She says something like, what we're most afraid of is not, is it something? Anyway, in the end, she says, we're not as fearful of the darkness. What we're scared of is our own light. That's what scares us the most, is our own light.
What we're capable of.
That's right.
Yeah. Because we are. Okay. So my husband and I were having a conversation yesterday when we took a walk, and it was a funny conversation because they were at work talking about something, and one of the IT people was a woman, and they got to talking about, I'm not sure what the context was, but she said something, and my husband goes, "Oh, you mean like I put my dirty clothes in the hamper and they, like magic, they show up clean?" And he was obviously being funny and I looked at my husband and I said, "You know what that means? I'm the magic." He started laughing, and I was like, "Oh yeah, that's me. I'm the magic." And so if you think about it as women, why do people come to us for everything? And they do. That's an indication of your light and your power, because they instinctively know you go to a woman, she's going to have a solution or an answer or a strategy or whatever. And that's why I think women become entrepreneurs. It gives them the opportunity to stand in their power and realize it.
Yeah.
But people come to us, Jenna, they do.
Yeah.
Because we are powerful, but we're not guarding it. I think we're not acknowledging it, and we're not guarding it.
We're not acknowledging it, and we're not guarding it. Exactly. That's why also it's really important to protect your energy. You have to be the fearless protector of your energy. That's up to you. Our relationship with ourselves is the most important relationship of our entire life. How much are you looking out for yourself? How much are you protecting your attention, your energy? How much are you valuing your time and attention? It's so valuable. When you can value it and know your worth, all of a sudden you walk in a room, you don't even have to say anything. It's clear. Your energy speaks for itself. You get treated differently. You get paid more. People respect you. You don't have to even say anything. You can put me in a room with someone who thinks they're powerful, as in having power over other people, and they wouldn't do that crap to me. The energy that I emit doesn't allow for that, because I feel powerful. And it's not because I have power over anybody. I have power over nobody. I have power over myself.
What's interesting about that, Jenna, is it's not like you walk into a room and you think, I am powerful and no one's going to stomp on me. I feel like a process for some people that might start there, learning to set a boundary so that people don't. But at some point, like you said, it shifts to you're so confident in who you are that those people sense it and they tend to avoid you. At first, you kind of do have to toe a line with those people, especially if they're conditioned.
They'll try, but the moment you set a boundary and you make it clear, hey, I am in control of me. That's right. I am in control of me. I run me. You mentioned earlier, you're the host of the Jenna Banks. And I was like, because I have the Jenna Banks show as a video series for those who don't know. And I say, yes, I am the host of Jenna Banks. I'm the host of me. I am the host of me. No one else is. I run me. I control me. I'm not going to let anyone else control me.
Oh man, imagine if we could do that in the healthiest way possible, not in that Because in my mind,
bitchy,
I'm thinking,
narcissistic way.
yeah,
Yeah.
like you have to shoot daggers at people. You can
Yeah.
be totally calm and in your power and just be like, that doesn't work for me.
Yeah. Exactly. It doesn't work for me. Like, and it's not trying to be anything. It just is.
Uh,
Do we have time for like a 3-minute story here, Gina?
oh, we still have like another good 10 minutes for us to talk. So,
Okay. Yeah. Cause I want to give an example because I think that we learn best through stories.
mhm.
I mean, it's great to get the teaching points and the data and all of that, but to really wrap it up, to like kind of picture it, it's good to get a story. And I do a lot of that in my book. I pepper it with a lot of my personal stories, and I get real vulnerable because I want to help teach these concepts. One of the stories is, I call it the coffee story. So I had just gotten hired by a company in Silicon Valley. I had wanted to try my hand in the tech world. I knew sales and biz dev, you can make some really good money in tech, good base salaries and really great commissions. This was many years ago. So I had just gotten hired by a company, had never been in the tech space before. And I had just moved to Silicon Valley like a few months before. So I get this job. I had been there like a month or two. We had just been bought by a company based in India. So the new president had just flown in from India to meet with us for the very first time at our Monday morning meeting. So we're sitting in the conference room. The president sits at the head of the table. I happen to sit next to him. My boss sits on the other side. And my colleague, who has the same title as me, but he's been there for like a year, he sits next to my boss. And then everyone else sits around. And I'm chatting with this guy, the new president, just to get to know him for a minute or so. It was very brief. But he turns to me before the meeting starts and he looks at me. He goes, Jenna, it'd be really nice to have some coffee right now. Wouldn't you like to have some coffee? And I'm like, no, I'm actually good. I don't drink coffee at this time of day. But thanks, And my boss, he's like sitting right across from me. And I'll never forget this. It's like I replaying the scene in my head because it was so weird. So he's like staring at me with his mouth just gaping open, literally gaping open. And I'm just like, what is going on around here? I was clueless. So then my colleague broke the silence and he goes, hey, Jenna, like, I know you like Starbucks. Like, wouldn't you like a latte right now? And I was like, no, actually, if I have coffee, I will be awake all night long. I'm truly being honest. I'm just being honest. Like, no, trust me, I have this weird intolerance. I'm going on about how intolerant I am to caffeine at that time of day, right? Like really trying to make it clear, like, no, I really like, thanks, but no, I'm good. And then the meeting goes on. No one gets coffee. End of the meeting, I go back to my cubicle. My colleague comes by my cubicle and he's like, hey, Jenna, would you mind showing me how to use the coffee machine in the break room? I don't know how to use it. And I'm like, I have no idea how to work that thing. I come in, the coffee's made. I don't know why you're asking me. Like, why would I go help him make the coffee? I don't know. And he's just looking at me funny, And so the end of the day, rolls by and I'm like, the coffee thing doesn't come up again, but I go into my boss's office to say goodnight. And I'm in my suit, my heels and all, and the president's sitting across from him at his desk, but they're both sitting and he kind of cranes his neck back and he looks at me, looks up to me and he's like, Jenna, this is the president. He says, I really look up to you. He said it with this real conviction. And I was like, must be because I'm wearing heels. Like I was so clueless. And I laughed. I thought it was funny, but I'm just like, what the hell is going on today? So I get in my car, I'm driving home and I started reflecting on the day. And I realized these guys fully expected me to go get coffee. Like they fully expected it. And they were in absolute shock that I didn't put their needs ahead of my own. Like that's what they were used to. They were used to women pleasing the men. And it never occurred to me to do so because I didn't need coffee. Now, it got me instant respect. I ended up, the president's like, hey, you should give Jenna the Cisco account. Like all of a sudden they're like, they had all this like I was still under training. I still needed a lot of learning. I needed to learn a lot still, but they were like, they had so much faith in me because I respected myself. And that got me respect and that got me quickly escalated. But it was all because of the stupid coffee scenario. And but it goes to my point about, and here's, I also want to back up and say, if I wanted to get coffee, right? If I said, hey, I'm going downstairs to get some coffee. Would anyone like some coffee? That's good manners. But, for me to for me to go get coffee for people it's not my job description. There's another person that has the same title as me. He's not going to get the coffee. Why should I go get the coffee? Because I'm a girl, like a woman, that makes no sense to me. So it's because it comes down to self, right? Self-love, self-respect. When you respect yourself, you don't see anyone else as higher than you, lower than you, and you also teach others how to treat you by how you treat yourself. Mm-hmm. So how you treat yourself is how you're teaching everyone around you to treat you too. It's not selfish. It is you're teaching them. And then once you do it, okay, that's the way we treat Jenna.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And there's really an awareness to that too, right? Like if I'm feeling resentful about a repetitive pattern in my life, maybe that's a talk point with ourselves.
That's right? A good point. Yes. Yeah.
Like exactly. I'm feeling really resentful. Why am I feeling resentful? Oh, I'm seeing a pattern in my life. Oh, what do I do? Mm-hmm. Because I feel like we as women can be very martyr-like, very victim-like, and we can blame other people when we have to acknowledge, no, we have the power to make a different decision. And I feel like that's a huge shift, is to step out of that martyr, that victim, and find the fact that in actuality, we don't have to kick ourselves to the curb for it, but we have been a part and a party of a lot of these situations in terms of accepting, oh, I'm the girl in the room. Yeah. That's what women do. Is it though? I mean, it is because we've done it, but is it the best way for it to be? Does that make sense? Like it's true because we do it, but is it really the best?
Is it the best for where we're trying? That's right. For where we're trying to go in society, from what we want to achieve as women now going forward, is it really serving us? We have to look at these unconscious social behaviors carefully now, because that's where the next bit of work has to come in, right? We have amazing things happening in the way of DE&I, right? Diversity, equity, and inclusion. Companies more than ever, even small businesses are getting on the bandwagon of investing into making sure they've got diversity, that they've got good inclusion. That's fantastic. That work is being done. So the opportunities are opening up for us. And now that other part of the work has to come from us. We're going to have to take a hard look at these old grooves, these paths that we've just well worn as women, and say, is this now still serving us?
Yeah, that's such a fantastic question. I use it in my coaching practice. There's this thing. Is this serving you? How has this served you? Because sometimes we have to recognize what is the reward we're getting from being the one that everybody comes to, that rescues everyone, or that does all the things. The thing that we get resentful about, at some point, it equaled something to us, I think. Yeah. And so we have to have a come to Jesus meeting with ourselves and really kind of call it what it is, right?
Yes, exactly.
They're probably not holding a gun to our head. We probably are doing it to ourselves to some degree. At what point is this really serving me? And if we shift and grow and realize it's not serving us, then the next part is like you're talking about, it's okay to set a boundary. Yeah. And I think as women, that is so challenging to set boundaries. Now, I would love to have you wrap up our conversation with 3 kind of key takeaways from your heart to my tribe. If women have listened to all this and they probably have ideas and feelings all swirling, situations, who knows where our minds go, what could you anchor us in on today on this topic?
Yeah. Okay. I'll 3. So I don't know if I had enough coffee for 3, but I'll give it a shot. No, I'm just kidding. Definitely I would say, the power container is super powerful. So start to get used to tuning in to that area between your stomach and your chest, and tune into this discomfort. Because I'm speaking from experience here. This is what I had to go through. This was my training, really, is tuning into that, because that's the starting point. that we've learned to reject. We've learned to, I said the nice girl syndrome. We've learned to say everyone else's feelings come ahead of my own. And so we've actually tuned out how we're really feeling. We just ignore it. And that starts to build up. That uneasiness, that dis-ease turns into disease, because we squelch down, we abandon ourselves, we squelch down our true feelings. We don't honor ourselves. So instead of being the nice girl, think of it like this. I'm not being mean to others. I'm being nice to myself. Yeah, being nice to myself. It's a reframe. So when you tune into your power container, say, "Oh, I'm feeling icky right now. Let's take a moment to pause. Let's evaluate this." And you know what? I'll give you here's number two. Number two is when you're evaluating in the moment, you might not be familiar with that. That might take years. I hate to say it, but it took me a long time. Like, you got to go home and think about it. Because first off, be compassionate with yourself and be forgiving with yourself. Like, you're not going to get this. Anything we do that's new, it's not going to come easy, and it's going to take time to get really good at it. So be compassionate and forgiving with yourself. Go home and think about it. Journal about it. I'm big on journaling. Write it down. How did it feel? Why did I feel this way? What could have caused that? Did they say something? Did this person say something that made me feel, when that person said this to me, that made me feel icky. That's what that was. Okay, well, how can I handle that better next time? And then do a simulation. Just do a quick simulation. Okay, if that person says that to me, I'm going to say, you know what? I got to be honest right now. That's making me feel uncomfortable. So let's change subjects, or whatever you got to do to honor yourself and stand up for yourself. And guess what? How you know you're on the right track? This is where the uncomfortable part comes in. I talked about going through that discomfort, feeling the ickiness and all of that. But on the other side, you will feel your power come back. You'll feel it in your power container. You'll feel this surge of energy. It literally feels like a surge of power. And you're like, oh my God, that felt really good. And that's going to be your new reward system. And then you'll start to form these new neural pathways, and you'll go, oh, that felt really good. Okay, next time. Now, the next time it's going to be a different challenge. So it's going to be a new thing, and you won't have rehearsed that. So you just got to keep forgiving yourself and be compassionate to yourself, but keep doing the work. Keep going home. Think about it on your car ride back. What happened? Why did I feel that way? Oh, they said that. How could I have better handled it? And just keep doing that. It might take years, but at some point you're going to get to that point where I was. That's why I was patting myself on the back. It wasn't a narcissistic thing to say. I was so proud of myself because I had done all the work, years and years of boundary work, to get to the point where I could say, pardon me, sir, with all due respect. See, I was respectful, but I clearly laid the boundary, and it felt effing great.
And on that note, that is the power, is to take situations and feelings and call them what they are, no longer giving them extra names, right? Good, bad, right, wrong, mean, nice. No, this is a state of being where we show up in the world in the best way possible. And that calls other people higher when we do that.
Amen, sister. Yes.
That's key, isn't it?
Yeah, that is the key. That is the key.
Well, Jenna, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show today. How do people find you?
Oh, thank you for asking. The best way is through my website, which is jenna-banks.com, because I have links there to all kinds of cool stuff. I've got a link to my book. I've got a blog. I actually call it my journal because that's what it kind of feels like. I just share stories and insights and things I've learned along the way. So you can read up on that. I've also got links to all my social media. I'm super, super active on like Instagram, Facebook, Reels and all that good stuff. And it's a great way. Like, let's say you get my book. You know, it's a journey, right? So I want to hold your hand on your journey. Let me help you. Just follow me on social media, and I'll be showing you some reminders or giving you, oh yeah, that's right, she talked about that in the book. And like, you know, so I've got, the jenna-banks.com is the best way to really link up with me on all the other platforms as well.
Fantastic. Well, Jenna, I want to thank you so much for bringing such a powerful message to my audience, and for bringing it in a way that felt good and healthy and strong. And there's such a fantastic energy that you bring to the conversation and to this relationship we've built over the last hour and a half. And I'm so grateful that you said yes to me and that you brought this light, this shard of light, this ray of light to my tribe. I'm so grateful for you.
I'm grateful for you, Gina. Thank you so much for having me today.
It was my pleasure. Friends, today I've been speaking with Jenna Banks. She is a social entrepreneur. She's the author of I Love Me More, How to Find Happiness and Success Through Self-Love. And she is the host of the Jenna Banks Show. If you head on over to www.feminineroadmap.com/episode 270, I will have links to Jenna so that you can find her and follow her. And while you're there, please leave your name and email address. I send out periodic encouraging emails. This is such an important topic that we've talked about today, my friends. As women, we love well, we nurture well, we serve well, but we have a difficulty in loving, nurturing, and serving ourselves. This is a call to find that balance in your life, to value yourself and what you bring to the world enough to hold that space for yourself the way you would for your most precious loved ones. Put yourself on that list of precious loved ones. You are worthy of that time. It's important for your health to put time in for yourself, to set boundaries, and trust us, it's not selfish to love yourself. We're not talking about neglecting others. We're talking about protecting yourself and who you are so that you can love and serve better yourself as well as your family and the world around you. Please take the time to share this podcast with someone. Get a copy of Jenna's book, read it, do the work, my friends. We as women are powerful. Let's stand in that and change the world one boundary and person at a time. Thank you so much for being with us today. I look forward to sharing more conversations with you in the weeks to come. Take care, my friends. Bye-bye.